Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 18th of June, and the cheap made-for Netflix movie series called OG Trump rolls on. I'm gonna wonder, is there any handlers for Trump? Because he seriously needs to have handlers before he gets out on the internet and posts more of the idiocies that he's posted. It's like a mental diarrhea that gets expressed in his posts. Truth Central or what have you, those ex-posts. I guess he's had the falling out with Musk. I don't know if it's absolutely true or not, but definitely has had the falling out with Carlson, Tucker Carlson. I'm beginning to actually be afraid for Tucker Carlson's health. He had Tucker Carlson, if you haven't seen it, that little video where he and Cruz have a conversation, Ted Cruz, the uber neocon from Texas. And, you know, why does the U.S. lose wars pathetically a lot of times? Because it never understands who it's fighting with. I mean, let's be real. Americans are never good at geography to begin with. They're horrible at history, at least for the last 40 years. And when the leadership is on that level, when the leadership is showing that it has no concept of who and what it wants to get in a fight with, except for stupid stereotypes that it's read, repeated to each other, and believes. You know, first of all, if you think that Iran are a bunch of psychopathic Islamic fanatics, there's a whole series of videos, walk through Tehran, walk through different markets, and what do you see? You don't see women covered from head to toe. You don't see guys in robes. You don't see people chanting. You see well-dressed, conservatively but well-dressed people in markets and other places, behaving normally, not showing their arses like in the West. Most of the women, they don't have their heads covered. A lot of them don't even have a scarf. The ones that do have scarves are usually on their shoulders. They're not head covered, they're head to toe. Those would be America's allies. That do that in the Arab world, especially the new one, El Jilani, who, again, I asked, did Trump wash his hands from the Christian baby blood on the hands of El Jilani? Or did he lick it off? Because murdering civilians and murdering children seems to be the thing for these Western elites. And while we're at it, you know, as they struck Iran, expecting what? That they were going to behead? The Israelis are no better than the Americans in this. They've fed themselves full of bullshit, and they believe that bullshit. They think they're OG. Yeah, we're going to get them, man. You should have taken my offer. Otherwise, a lot of people had died, man. Yeah, you should have taken. You should have listened to me. I'm the big bald man in the White House. I have big balls. My balls are bigger than big balls. I throw big balls. It reminds me of the AC/DC song. I've got great big balls. Big balls of fire. That's what the whole American thing sounds like. A bunch of people that are just, you know, who's got the bigger wanker? Let's compare. Let's pull it out. We've all got big wankers. You just say the very small wanker people. So Ted Cruz has no idea the population makeup of Iran, the quantity of people. You've got Lindsey Graham screaming, let's get boots on the ground. Oh, by all means, let's get boots on the ground. This is going to be funner and fun to watch. I'm going to have to buy a couple crates of popcorn for this one. Yeah, let's see, first of all, how America even gets there. Second of all, a population of 90 million people, even if you're using about a third of that population as insurgencies, not all of them are going to go insurgencies because they're not Persians. Doesn't mean they're going to run over to the U.S. to be an insurgency for them. Let's see how that works in a mountainous, forested terrain. On land, you're going to be facing a peer enemy, and we make the best stuff. Okay, yeah, your best stuff hasn't worked too well in Ukraine, has it? I guess it's not the best stuff, is it? Now, you got the Nimitz coming up there, along with two other aircraft carrier groups. And the Nimitz, just for people who don't realize, it's like a 50-year-old aircraft carrier. That thing is supposed to have been retired next year. I mean, it's end of life cycle. And how well will it fare with intense utilization? That's going to be something that we're all going to get to see pretty soon. How well will it fare? Especially when ballistic missiles start coming, or hypersonic missiles start coming screeching in on it. Yeah, these aircraft carriers, they're small cities. There's like 5,000. There's up to 5,000 sailors on some of these. Yeah, that's a prime target. And actually, knock out an aircraft carrier, you don't need to sink it. You just have to damage the flight deck, and then what? It's just a big floating target, nothing else. They're great for whacking at small nations that can't strike back. Things get much more complicated when those nations have pinpoint accurate ballistic missiles, or God forbid, hypersonic missiles. So there's that point. Like I said, somebody has to come in and wean Trump off of Instagram. Oh, his Truth Central Instagram, where he gets to post all the stupidity he can. I mean, this is a new era with Trump, where it's diplomacy by stupid posts. Yeah, we're in seriously into the social engineered world here. Oh, Lord have mercy. Save us from the stupid people. The stupid people in power, because they're the most dangerous. Backed up only by the stupid people that refuse to understand the stupid people above them are going to get them killed first and support them to the end. It's the same thing as some of these videos coming out of Israel, where the Israelis go, "Why us? Why are we getting hit?" Gee, or the different ministers in Israel, they are evil because they have struck buildings full of people. Look, I am not cheering for the death of civilians on any side. Not at all. But, the people that have been murdering civilians for the last 2 years non-stop, they've been doing it longer than that. And they've been doing it, especially the last 2 years, with absolutely no regard for collateral damage, as they put it. Or just mass genocide. We've got to get a guy, so we'll take out 4 apartment buildings to get that one guy, full of families. Oh, that's Israel. That's America, too. That's not a problem. That's Britain. By the way, that's the Western standard of doing war. Mass murder of the civilian population. Zelensky, interesting enough, Zelensky came out in a report. I'm not sure how much he was snorting, to tell the truth. But he said it flat out. If we evacuate a town or a village, the Russians take it really quickly. If we keep civilians there, they go slow. That's right, because Russians don't fight like the West. If we did, most of the West would be extinct right now. We would have exterminated a lot of these countries for the things they've done on our land. The Germans there would have been no more Germans in Germany after 45. Instead, we fed them. In fact, first day of Battle of Berlin, the neighborhoods that were conquered from the Nazis. I'm not going to say liberated, because they weren't liberated. We weren't liberating Germany. We're conquering Germany, because Germany was all in for Hitler. The neighborhoods that were conquered, the Red Army turned around soup kitchens and started feeding the very people that were either shooting at the Red Army just hours before, or were carrying ammunition and helping the Wehrmacht. And when Hitler opened the sluice in the metro and started flooding the metro so that the Red Army could move underground, and there were tens of thousands of civilians. Red Army soldiers plunged into that water, started pulling people out. In some of those areas, along parallel with the Wehrmacht soldiers that were pulling civilians out. And more than one Red Army soldier drowned in an attempt to save the population that was trying to exterminate him and his family. That's the difference between us and the West. And it's a difference that you can't breach. It is a total cultural, psychological difference. So, say what you wish. But that is it. And the West is very lucky we aren't like them. We aren't a normal country. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist anymore. But then you get Trump, like I said. You get Trump mouthing off, saying stupid crap, non-friggin' stop. I mean, this is every day, like, let's see what else has Trump spewed for the day. And Israel's finding out that, interestingly enough, Iran can absorb hits. It's just like the IDF, the legend of the IDF. We're the only most powerful military of the Middle East. We can do anything anywhere, and then we get into Gaza. And we get our asses kicked. And we can't handle it. And then what? Israel, by the way, has put a travel ban on all Israelis because they don't have enough soldiers, because the reservists have said, screw this, we're not coming back. We're not doing another round in these. We're just reservists. We don't know how to fight. So much for dancing, that all the dancing they were doing at first sitting on TikTok and smiling as they're blowing up buildings, and then shit got serious. And for that small of a population, a lot of people fled, just flat out fled out of Israel to the U.S. or to other countries. And some of them became senators in Congress and House of Representatives in America. Okay, those fled earlier. So this is a collapse for Israel. I mean, Israel's dead meat walking anyways. It's murder its economy. It'll be a wonder if they don't wind up shooting each other pretty soon. And Iran's showing that by hitting back. Iran still has been relatively hitting back lightly, all things considered, what it could do. It's interesting enough, U.S. military, Hagseth came out and said, we moved those anti-aircraft missiles out of systems out of Ukraine and relocated them to Israel. And he said this in front of the U.S. Congress. But what wasn't said, how they were moved. Now, if those missile systems were in the hands of Ukrainians, I highly doubt that they would just hand them over. They wouldn't. But how were they able to, wrap things up and drive their asses out of Ukraine, put them on planes and ship them down to Israel? A. And B, why to Israel? Let me expand. A, they did it because those are Americans behind operating those systems. Shit mercenaries. In other words, they were American military, active duty people. They were told to wrap things up. They were operating in Ukraine, fighting in the war. America is fully involved in this war, and it's invested 100%. And while maybe the 82nd Airborne is sitting it out, elements of the 82nd Airborne, I guarantee, are in there, whether as mercs or what have you. And obviously, the anti-aircraft batteries were there with American soldiers. So they gathered things up, they sat down in the vehicles, and they drove out. That's how that happened. B, why to Israel? There are somewhere between 55 to 60,000 American soldiers on various bases in various countries up and down the Persian Gulf. They're going to be easy targets once Trump gets his big war, and all the neocons and all the neolibs can, have emergency calls for permanent erections. Half of them will probably have heart attacks from being in such an orgasmic state. Now, instead of putting those missiles in to protect American soldiers, American sailors, American airmen, he's going to protect his owners in Israel. You gotta wonder. Where's priority? Yeah, baby. It sure as hell ain't the men and women are going to be having to do the dying. It's the men and women and whose people are doing the paying of the politicians for the American men and women to go do the dying. Priorities, baby, priorities. It's all about priorities. That's how that runs. That's right. Think about it. If you're the tax serf. If you're the tax serf that's barely surviving right now, oil's up $30. That's 30% increase. Oh, I'm sorry. That's 50% increase. It was in the 60s. It's up $30. That hasn't hit you yet. That takes a little while, but because you're going through the oil that's already been bought. America imports 8 million barrels a day. And whether or not it's even using its own oil, those prices will go up. For the next batches going to the various oil refineries. So the price of everything's going up. Diesel, your lifestyle, which is already out of service and out of stock, is about to have a much longer wait list than it had before that. Why? Because that's just how it's going to be. So the American nightmare is going to be continuing. And what are you going to do about it? Oh, you're just going to sit there and there's so many, some MAGA people are waking up. The eternal wars and their bankruptcies of their lives is only accelerating, while others are in total denial. And you can see it in the commentary, you hear it from other people. People are relatively have their heads on their shoulders, but their brains have been sucked out. They refuse to understand. It's scary to understand. It's scary to open your eyes. Understand that you are meat for your betters. And one of those betters is sitting in the White House, damn determined to have a war. And that the Democrats that are now pushing the anti-war bill are the same ones that were pushing a pro-war bill just 6 months earlier. Your system isn't going to get fixed. It's unfixable. It is corrupt, and it's rotted out to such a degree, just another election is never going to fix anything. It's not. It's too far gone. It's like saying, hey, you know, stage 4 cancer, I'm going to give you an aspirin. How about that? Okay, fine, aspirin's not enough. I'm going to give you some really strong ibuprofen. That will take care of it. Yeah, well, no, it won't. It may prolong the suffering a little longer, but it ain't going to take care of it. And the economic crash that's going to come along with that, ooh, baby. Yeah. I would say get gold, but owning gold in America is kind of pointless because, look, first of all, if you own gold paper, that's just paper. If the market crashes, it ain't physical gold. That market crashes, that company goes away that had that gold for that issued you that gold paper. Well, bye-bye for that gold that maybe never even existed. As for owning physical gold, 1932, if you know your history. Good thing most Americans don't. 1932 is when a G-man was standing in every bank, confiscated all gold coins, gave paper money, and a third of all jewelry gold, and gave paper money. That's it. No problems after that, is there? Are there? So owning gold in America is not the best idea. Land, maybe. Seeds, weapons, fuel, yeah, to some degree. Fuel goes bad, by the way. Don't believe those movies. Gasoline starts to break down after 6 months pretty quickly. Own gold outside the U.S. Physical gold. Gold vaulting, if you can afford that. If you can't, you know, get gold coins, silver coins, stash them somewhere on your property. But the reality is either way, you get screwed. Because even if you have gold, but you don't have any means of production to get whatever you need, you've got other problems. Gold isn't going to feed the kids when they're hungry. Economic collapse is a horrible thing to go through. Just as a keynote there. But then again, I think the U.S. government is going to lock down hard on civilians and everything else when the time comes. And you know, these actions by these different demonstrators get bad enough that people will be begging to be locked down. Or that's the aim anyways. It seems like they're driving that way, because if they don't understand what they're creating, I don't know what. You know, Iran's not going to fold. U.S. can't afford the war. And it's going to deflate the American bubble real quick. And the supremacy bubble, we've got the 11 aircraft carriers and blah, blah, blah. Just like it's already deflated Israel's missile bubble, missile supremacy bubble, and their we can assassinate anybody anywhere bubble. And then what? And their cities are still getting hit every day, dozens of times. And your civilians are freaking out. Why us? It's like the Ukrainians. Why us? Oh, I don't know, 8 years of massacring people in the east. Oh, but that wasn't us. That was them shooting at themselves. You know, I'm surprised the Israelis are screaming that the Lebanese are just blowing up themselves, or the Gazans are killing their own kids, the way the Ukrainians still are. But no, they couldn't, because they were too busy taking photos of themselves breaking, stealing, pillaging, and blowing up buildings. So yeah, that's how it rolls. That's how it rolls. We'll see. Trump said, you know, day 2, and that we'll have a decision whether America goes to war. Of course, I think most people understand America is going to war with Iran. This is the sought-after dream of the neo two wings of the one bird party for the last 20, 30 years. I mean, they're still pissed off that there was a revolution in Iran. They still are. These people take things personally, very, very personally. I mean, look at Nuland. She spent 6 months on a Russian trawler working in the cafe, or not cafe, the chow hall, mess hall, and she still hates Russian. So I'm assuming there's probably some romance that went sour. So these people take things personally. They're like children, and they can't let go of when somebody hurt their feelings, and they take it out on whole societies and their own society first of all too. So we'll see as the ball keeps rolling and the war winds keep blowing. See, I think the U.S. just doesn't have enough units in place right now. The aircraft carriers haven't arrived, so they're buying time before they decide to go to war. But everybody, I mean, you've got to be pretty blind not to understand the U.S. is going to war. Vladimir Vladimirovich called Trump, was giving him an off-ramp. Trump, like some cartoon character, every episode gets in some kind of screwy trouble. Well, not only him, obviously. Biden and his crew weren't any better. Bungled that one up. So obviously this is not going on an off-ramp. It's going to war. And then what happens, we'll live and see. We'll see how many of America's Middle Eastern allies are still going to be allied when Jordan and Egypt, their populations overthrow them, which are on the brink of, or the Saudis and others get a little smarter and see that this ain't happening the way they were told it was going to happen, and they switch sides. Right now, the Arab League is actively working for the Israelis. So, there's that. Yeah, it keeps getting interesting. We'll have to say that. Okay, I've got to run. Short update. Have fun, stay safe, stock up. Stock up on dry goods, because things are going to get expensive. I mean, they're going to get expensive. Look, when fuel, the Iranians are going to close the Strait of Hormuz as this expands. No U.S. ship is going to get anywhere close to pull out any of the scuttle ships in that area without getting shot up full of missiles, land to sea. So, okay, so that's not going to happen. Oil's going to skyrocket. And with that, diesel's going to skyrocket, and the cost of everything you have is going to skyrocket. Not just as electricity and such, but as deliverance. Or the U.S. government is going to have to lock down the oil companies, nationalize them maybe even, if that's that far, to keep the prices low. And yet the U.S. still needs 8 million barrels a day. So your long suffering is just beginning. It's going to get worse. So when you can, stock up. Cheers. God bless.